Hello, beauties. Welcome to Moms Unboxed, a podcast where I unbox with you the how-tos, tips, and tricks to empower women to upgrade relationships, intimacy, and parenting. I'm your host, Melanie Caroline, a multi-dimensional woman, life coach, lover, and mom who's made a lot of fucking mistakes. If you want to live a sensual and liberated life, you've come to the right space. Don't forget to follow Moms Unboxed because you don't want to miss an episode. Hello, mamas. How is everyone doing this week? I trust that you had a good 4th of July with lots of love and fireworks and even relaxation. I know that I did a lot of relaxation on the 4th of July. It was nice. And here we are today. Thank you so much for being here. Today we're unboxing mindful listening. I didn't know about mindful listening until I was going through this transformational journey, this phase in my life where I was becoming very anxious over conversations that were hard to have, even ones in my career where I had to talk to individuals who were of higher status than me. And I was having a hard time being in the present moment, always thinking about something else when someone else was talking. And even though I still struggle with focusing my mind on the person, on the conversation, I can acknowledge that and redirect my thinking. And that's part of what mindfulness is. Mindfulness is being aware in the present moment without judgment or criticism and being open and curious about what the speaker is saying. Being open and curious about your environment, what your body is telling you, being curious and open about others' perspectives. Mindfulness is so many things. How do we listen mindfully? And some people may have heard something like active listening. So mindful listening and active listening intertwine. Active listening also speaks about how to respond to the person. And today we're just going to be talking about how to mindfully listen to the speaker. So this means A, you don't want to be distracted. Y'all, man, I can't even count how many times I'll go out and I'll see a couple, they're eating their food, and one partner has their phone out and the other partner is trying to talk to them. And it's like, come on, you're on a date. You're supposed to listen to one another. Even when you're not on a date and your partner or your child wants to speak with you, you want to put away the distractions. We do so much multitasking in our life, especially when we're talking, that there are some instances, right, where your child might come up to you and say, "Mom, can I please talk to you?" And usually when they're like asking to talk to you, it's like, okay, let's put down the laundry, let's turn off the TV, and let's be attentive to what the speaker is saying. So when you're putting away distractions, that also means that we are being conscientious of our thoughts, because our thoughts can be extremely distracting. When your partner is trying to tell you about their day, but you're thinking about what you need to get to make for dinner, there's no way you're being super attentive to your partner. They may have had a bad day and you missed the piece where where it kind of shifted into a bad day, and you're just finding yourself going, yeah, oh yeah, okay, oh, I'm so sorry you had a bad day. And these are very vague responses we provide our partner when our thoughts are elsewhere and we're halfway listening. People call that drowning the other person out. Well, you're drowning a person out with your own thoughts. So when you are in the position of being the mindful listener, you're aware of your thoughts, and then you're able to acknowledge where you're distracted and bring your attention back to the speaker. And you need to do this without being judgmental towards yourself. Have compassion towards yourself. This is super common. Our mind is thinking of multiple things, and that's why it's important to have discipline over the mind. You want to be a better listener for your partner and your family and the people around you. And when you do become a better listener, you also become more curious. You're coming from a place of curiosity. You're not being judgmental, nor are you looking for things to defend. So much of the time when we're having a heavy conversation, you want to look for things to defend, or we pick holes in what the person is trying to say. For instance, if they get a fact wrong, it's common to be like, no, that wasn't the case. Be curious about what they're saying. Make a mental note of it so that you can come back to that thought later, rather than being a listener that is distracted by what you're going to defend or what you need to prove right or wrong within the conversation. When you are being a mindful listener, you're curious and open. You're just like taking in what they're having to say without your emotions swaying back and forth. Rather than being angry or frustrated with what they're saying, you're holding a space of compassion for yourself and the other person. One example I had of this when I first started exploring what it meant to be a mindful listener, I was preparing for this meeting with the higher ups. You know, my previous job, I worked for the state, and we were having this meeting, and I was so terrified because they did not like the position that I was in. These people did not necessarily didn't like me, but of course at the time I took it personally. But I wanted to make sure that I turned my perspective around. I wanted to give these individuals an opportunity to express themselves without my emotions, at the forefront of my mind regarding this position that I was in. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to sit there. I'm going to listen attentively. I'm not going to be distracted. I'm just going to be curious about what they're saying, regardless of whether I agree or don't disagree with them. I'm just going to be open, and I'm just going to listen. I'm prepping for this meeting. I'm using breathing techniques. I'm got my fidget. I'm going through okay, I'm going to be curious. I'm going to be open. Let's do this. Whew, I had prepped for this meeting, y'all. Turns out I was not feeling good that morning, and I tested positive for COVID. So I was a mindful listener at the park, away from people, on my phone doing the meeting. So I actually did not have to sit in front of those people, but I did practice the skills. I continued to practice the skills even though I was on the phone with them and they couldn't see me, because there was a point where I did need to speak, and I did that with poise rather than being and feeling flustered. I was able to listen to their perspective, take it all in, process it, and then provide my response. I wasn't defensive. I wasn't angry or frustrated like I had proven myself to be in other meetings. It was an improvement. Mindful listening is more than just hearing someone's voice and listening to their words. So even when I had this meeting, I was on the phone. I was listening for tones. And even though I couldn't see them, I could tell by their tone of voice how the energy was in the room. So when you are with your partner or your child and you're having that conversation with them, be mindful of their tone. Be mindful of their facial expressions, their body language. More than 60% of our communication comes from body language itself. So sometimes it's not the words in which we speak, it's the way in which we speak them. So you might say, I hope you have a good day. But you know damn well that person might be being smart alecky and they're not genuine in their have a good day. I'm just saying, it's the way in which we express the thing that can make a large difference. People observe and pay attention to the way the body speaks and the way the body expresses itself when we are maybe feeling agitated or feeling jealous, or even when we are experiencing joy and happiness. There's a certain way in which our body expresses itself that dictates to that person, hey, this person's feeling hella joyful. For instance, I like to do what is called wooging out. My dad named me a wooge in my childhood because I like to make funny sounds. I like to jump up and down, clap my hands, all the things. My body loves to move when I'm feeling a lot of joy and happiness. And when I also get overwhelmed and anxious and excited, like all at the same time, and there's like this buildup of energy in my body, and I have to listen to that buildup of energy in my body, and I have to express it. And so I express it myself in a very unique way. If someone saw me on the streets, they probably think I was crazy or something. But people who love me and know me know that me woojing now actually means that I'm super happy and excited. So when you do become more mindful of the people that you're around and for the people that you love, you will know their mannerisms. You will know their body expresses themselves in certain ways. Same with our children. When we are observant of our children as they grow up and develop their own personalities, rather than being furious with them for doing something, we need to be curious. Because sometimes what looks like a behavior is actually them needing to exert the energy from their body. And our children express themselves in so many different ways. And as a parent, we have to be curious about our children, because your children don't express themselves all the same, and they don't express themselves the same way that you would express yourself. Of course, they see the way you express yourself. If your family were yellers growing up, there's potential that you became a yeller. However, once you are aware of what triggers your yelling or what triggers the anxiety that causes you to yell, that's when you can stop, become aware of it, listen to your body, and understand what is happening, what is occurring when you're yelling. And then you can shift that. You can change. Like you found the source of the symptom. And the symptom is yelling, and the source could be when I'm hungry, I find that I'm irritable and I become impatient when I don't have time to cook myself a meal, and then I yell. When we become mindful of our bodies and when we listen to it, we can actually start shifting things and expressing ourselves in a more positive way, which then helps our children understand, well, what's going on with your body? Why are you feeling anxious? Why are you feeling angry? I always ask my children, what is happening inside your body right now? What are you feeling? And sometimes they don't have the words to express it, and we practice different words like, does your stomach feel fluttery? Does your chest feel tight? Does your throat feel closed, like you can't breathe? Like, we walk through the different things to help them describe their body, because I didn't understand how to listen to my body until I was in my late 20s. And I'm still learning things about my body. Like, I know when I'm starting to bite my cheeks that I'm fucking anxious. I need to sit down and I need to meditate, or I need to do a self-care check-in. You know, have I eaten? Have I drank water? Have I got enough sleep? Do I need to take a break from work? Because I know that there are certain symptoms and certain behaviors that occur when I'm not taking care of myself. And so it's really a wonder, the body's messages when and what we receive when we're actually listening. Because listening and being mindful is more than just, hey, let's be mindful of a conversation. Because being a mindful listener also means that you're paying mind to yourself. You're listening to your body, your mind, your heart, and spirit. And it would be so beneficial, right? When you become more mindful of yourself, you can teach your children and your spouse how to become more mindful. When we're mindful in different ways, this also carries over into our relationships and the conversations that we have. So I have 4 things I know y'all want to know, because you're probably wondering, well, Mel, how do I listen to my partner a little better, and how do I be more mindful of my children when they're talking to me? So here we go. This is number 1, attentive awareness. putting away distractions, being attentive of tones, facial expressions, body postures, and being attentive to your own mind. Observe when your mind is wandering. Like I said, it's perfectly normal for your mind to wander. That's why we build the discipline to be a better listener. We can recognize when we're becoming distracted by our own thoughts, and then we can redirect ourselves. We can say, oh, I noticed I'm thinking about the groceries. Let me, tune back into my partner, because what my partner has to say is very important to me. Be curious. Being curious is so important. Curiosity is the solution to judgment and criticism. So be without judgment when your person is speaking to you. Coming to your own conclusions about a conversation will only shut it down. And once we come to our own conclusion about a conversation, we're going to want to interrupt. You're going to want to interrupt your partner. And you're going to want to shut down the conversation because you think you know it all in that moment. But the truth is, when we're curious, we're not coming to our own conclusion. Rather, we are observing and asking questions. If you do not want to come to your own conclusion, but you have a question, ping that question in your mind, allow your partner to finish talking, and then ask the question. Say, I hear you saying ... May I ask a follow-up question? Okay? This prevents any discord or you coming to your own conclusion based on your own perceptions of things. Don't make assumptions. You know what my dad used to say? He used to say, assumptions make an ass out of you and me. Damn, some of the things our parents grew up saying, like, just never leave us. But it is correct. It is true. Coming up with an assumptions, coming up with your own conclusion really can make an ass out of yourself. So be curious about what your person is saying to you. Do not distort what your partner is saying. Invite them to extend or explain should you need more clarification, okay? Be curious. Be curious. The next thing you want to do when mindful listening is listening with compassion. Oh, compassion when we are going through our own thing can be hard to acquire. Sometimes there are points in life where you and your partner might be going through something, and that's when you need to both come together, create space to listen to one another with compassion. People who have the ability to vent reduces stress and depression. We need a soundboard. That's why, we go to therapists. When you go to a therapist, you talk. And you talk and you talk. People have even described therapy as like being a vent session. And it's true that it helps a person feel like they're being listened to, because therapists' number one job is to listen with compassion. Being able to vent reduces the feeling of loneliness, which can cause suffering. And when we have that soundboard, we don't feel as lonely. So, should your partner be going through, a struggle in life, you want to listen attentively. You want to open your heart and have compassion for them and understand their perspective. Even though you might have more to say or a different view, you want to simply listen. My sister and I had a great Mother's Day. We were rebuilding our relationship, and at the end of the sister date, I was like, is there anything you enjoyed, or is there something different you could have had on this date? She was like, well, I feel like you kind of didn't really talk a lot. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I just felt like you needed someone to listen to you. And she said, yeah, you're right. So sometimes people don't want feedback or unsolicited advice. Sometimes people just want someone to listen, to feel a sense of calmness, to feel a sense of safety when they're explaining whatever it is they're explaining to you. And you might feel that too for yourself. Maybe you're the one that's speaking and you need your partner to mindfully listen. Listen with attentiveness, to be curious, to have compassion for what you're saying. Because when we can express ourselves under an umbrella of love and safety, and we can just say what we need to say, get it off our chest, man, the feeling of that is just so relieving and freeing. Compassionate listening is much needed, especially with our children when they're going through a hard time. Sometimes as adults, we forget that, little problems to our children are actually big problems to them. Like my son got his little feetsies burned. It's been super hot. Day 2 of him whining and complaining, I started forgetting to listen with compassion. I'm like, man, I've had my feet burned before, but you gotta suck it up. You gotta be able to walk around, I can't go to the bathroom for you. You're gonna have to get up and walk. And, he was getting upset because he could tell I was getting a little bit irritable with the whining, and in his mind, he's not whining. He's genuinely hurting. And I had to remember that of day 2 of okay, let me hold compassion for him and be a sense of peace, love, and support, and help him out and see him, see that he's hurting. Witnessing someone else's suffering and wanting to take it away is compassion. The 4th thing you want to do when you're mindful listening is recognize and redirect when you're not listening to someone. So when someone is talking, like my partner does, when I am talking and he automatically pulls out his phone, I got to remind him, is there something important right now that you needed to look at? I'm trying to have a conversation. And then he's like, oh. And I know he's not doing it on purpose. Most people don't. Their just brain is like, oh, check this email. Oh, add this to the grocery list. Oh, let me pull out my phone for this. We are living on automatic systems. And sometimes those systems just don't care who's talking. We're just going to do what we want when we want because we're not really paying attention. Or we think that the other person doesn't really need our undivided attention. They're just talking. And sometimes, yeah, it might be just talking, but, your partner still wants that time and attention. You might find, too. You're like, yeah, my partner does that. He pulls out his phone every time I start talking, and I don't understand how to get his attention. Well, maybe talk to him about this. Talk to him about, hey, when we're having a conversation, can you please be attentive to what I'm saying? Can you please put away the phone? I would really like your undivided attention right now. So recognize when that's occurring, even within your own thoughts, and then redirect. It's okay. You and your partner, you and your kids could practice mindful listening. Even through dinner. I know it's hard for my kids to just stand there and not fidget with anything or not be trying to think about something else or ask another question that has nothing to do with what I'm trying to talk to them about. I know you know that if you are a mom, those kids, their attention spans are extremely short, but then we want to get mad at them for not being attentive long enough because, I'm sorry, but adults can be long-winded and children do not have the attention span. They do not. So practicing this, all right, we're going to practice mindful listening during this conversation. So I'd like you to look at me. I'd like you to put away the thing. I would like you to hear what I'm saying. And then I follow up a question with, do you understand what I'm saying? And then you have the kids that they are not paying attention to you at all. At least you think they're not. And then, they're playing their game or whatever and you're getting irritated because you're not being listened to and you're like, what did I just say? And the kid repeats everything that you said. That's my son, my oldest. He might look like he's not paying attention at all, but I assure you, he is. So mamas, when you're practicing attentive awareness, You're putting away distractions. You're being attentive to your tone, your facial expressions, your body posture. You're able to pay more mind to things that maybe you haven't witnessed previously. Being able to provide a listening ear to your partner and your kids can really improve their mental health, can really help them feel seen, heard, and acknowledged. This is the definition of being witnessed. And when you're witnessed, you feel like you belong. And when you belong, you feel loved and wanted. I encourage you to practice mindful listening more within yourself, within your own body. Being able to recognize your body's sensations, being able to witness your emotions and feelings is also a part of mindful listening. And when you practice listening to the body and being aware of the mind, you can also help the people in your heart of hearts do this same thing. When we practice mindful listening and being curious to other people's perspectives, those conversations that we have with one another can be so expansive. Like, it's so important to understand someone else's perspective and come from a place of non-judgment. As a world, as a society, if we were able to listen better, we could have more compassion in the world. We can have the want to solve things in a more peaceful way because we can be more curious, because we don't take things so personally when we start being a mindful listener. As a whole, this would improve the love in this world. This would improve the love within households, within relationships, within partnerships. Being able to be like, wow, thank you for sharing your perspective. Here's mine. Maybe we can come to this agreement. Or thank you for sharing me and opening my eyes to different things that I didn't see previously. The conversations that we could be having could be so expansive. The experiences that we have could be transformational if we're able to listen to our mind, listen to our bodies, listen to our spirits, and listen to the people that we love, the people that we care about, and just live a more peaceful life. So I really loved this topic. It's just like a little tiptoe intro topic to what mindful listening is. And we'll dive into like mindful communication and how we can improve our communication when it's tied with mindful listening. Thank you so much for being here, listening to the show. I hope that this topic will help you in your relationships and help you listen to yourself. Thank you for unboxing with me. Don't forget to hit that follow button. Until the next time, sunshine. Thank you again for joining me for another episode of Moms Unboxed. If you have a topic or relationship question, connect with me at I am Melanie Caroline. And don't forget to follow Moms Unboxed. May you live a liberated, sensual, and unboxed life. I'll be chatting with you next Wednesday for another episode. Until the next time, sunshine.